What? He's doing 2 movie reviews in a row? It's my channel. I can do what I want. Little disclaimer, this is the second time I recorded this because the first time I recorded it, I was just so excited that I dude, I kept saying and then the like Odysseus comes in or whatever, and then dude, sound like a toddler telling his mommy something, but I will be structured now. Yes, I went and saw the Odyssey. The Odyssey directed by Christopher Nolan. It was a beautiful movie and ew, imagine I was French. Anyway, I was not able to see it in IMAX, unfortunately. We went to Cinemark XD, which I feel like was pretty close. I mean, it was a big screen. Sound was great. I love Cinemark. Cinemark's got a great vibe to it. It's got like a cool, nostalgic vibe to it, I feel. But you're not here to listen to me talk about how I watched the movie. You're here to watch me talk about the movie. Because you got nothing better to do, I guess. Yeah, I guess it was awesome. It was so good. I am gonna do some spoilers because I don't want to hold back anymore. I'm crazy. I'm freaking crazy, man. I'm not holding back. We're gonna start with performances. Dude, you would have thought everyone's rent was due the way that they acted in this movie. Everyone's performance was like top tier. They brought their A game. Even the people who were in it for 5 minutes and under killed every scene that they were in. When I initially saw the casting for this movie, not gonna lie, I saw Matt Damon as Odysseus. I was like, that makes no sense. It makes sense. Dude, he did phenomenal as Odysseus. You know, he had this one, I want to get home to my family and everything, but then he had this like sadness in him from everything that he did in Troy. You know, halfway through the movie, he's like, I don't know if I deserve to go home after everything I've done. He was actually amazing. Odysseus and Leurylicus's, try saying that 5 times fast, their chemistry together is so good. I believe his name's Himesh Patel. I think that's how you say it. I've only seen him in that like Beatles movie Yesterday. He did so good. I'm going to keep repeating myself. Everyone did so good in this movie. Anne Hathaway as Penelope was amazing. What I really liked about her performance was she wasn't just the wife sitting at home for her husband. She like had an anger to her that I found really interesting. Because, you know, everyone's being like, oh, well, you know, we got to have a king. We got to have a king. If it has no ruler. There's even a part where she's talking to Telemachus, Tom Holland, and he even says, you know, we need someone to sit on the throne. And she goes, I've sat on the throne for 20 years, but it means nothing because you have bristles on your chin? I was like, oh my God. It's such a good performance. Tom Holland as Telemachus. When I first saw that casting, I kind of had that thought in my mind where I was like, oh my God. Tom Holland in another movie. I love Tom Holland. I don't know why I have that reaction sometimes. I love Tom Holland. I think he's a great actor. Seeing him in this, he was phenomenal. Are you kidding me? But for some reason, when I saw him as Telemachus, I was like, dude, they just had to get Tom Holland for Telemachus. But I'm glad that they did. There's a scene where Tom Holland is sitting with a king who served with Odysseus. And the king, played by John Bernthal, by the way, guess what? Did great. They're talking, and John Bernthal says to Telemachus, you heard the story of the horse, the Trojan horse? And Tom Holland's like, yes, I have. And then John Bernthal's like, you ever heard it from the inside? Those are my impressions of them, by the way. During my brand new day reaction, that's all I'm going to be doing. And then John Bernthal was like, get out of my way, Spider-Man. And then Tom Holland was like, but Mr. Punisher, we need to... Anyway, but during that scene where they're talking, and John Bernthal is like telling Telemachus all this stuff about his dad and how great he was and everything, Tom Holland's sitting there and listening to him, and he's crying. He's not weeping. He just has tears coming out of his eyes, and you can see in his eyes that he has this feeling that I can't even like describe. And then John Bernthal was like, sorry, I couldn't tell you where your dad is. And then Tom Holland says, but you told me about him. And I was like, dude, oh my God. On the same point, Lupita, I can't remember her last name off the top of my head. Plays Helena Troy, John Berthol's wife. I don't even remember John Berthol's character's name. And for everyone who's being like, Helena Troy wasn't black, actually. Shut up. This is a fairy tale. It's a myth. Also, she was in it for maybe 2 minutes collectively. Relax. The other character that she plays is Agamemnon's wife. Agamemnon was interesting. I hope I'm saying that right. He was interesting because people have been describing him as like ancient Greek Darth Vader, because you just see him in his armor and everything, and he's just kind of walking around aura farming. And then there's a scene where they're in the underworld, and I didn't realize that was Benny Safdie. And even after watching the movie, I'm still kind of like, why was he cast as... I don't know. It was just a weird casting choice, because you don't really see his face, because he has like the helmet on for most of the movie. You don't even see his face until he's in the underworld. He's telling Odysseus about how he arrived home and his wife killed him. I don't think that you see his face until he gets stabbed in the throat. But yeah, Lupita plays his wife as well. She's twin sister of Helena Troy. That was kind of a jump scare, because he's telling the story or whatever, and then Lupita just like so loud. She did very well though. Chris Nolan really just added all these little... Yeah, I call him Chris Nolan. We're cool like that. He really just added these little things to each of the characters that made him really interesting. Even Helena Troy, when Telemachus was leaving, all of this started because Helena Troy ran away. And she tells Tom Holland, tell your mom, I'm sorry that all this happened because of me, in my name. And all this horrible stuff has happened because of me. It's like, whoa. She had a couple lines of dialogue in this movie, and one of them is just this little pearl of letting you inside, seeing her guilt that she has for all of this, her disdain for all of this, just in this one little line. That's great. That's such good writing. That's just a small example of how good the writing is in this movie. Robert Pattinson, of course, did great. Was there ever any doubt? So he plays one of the suitors, and obviously, you know, he's a sleazebag guy, whatever. But Chris Nolan adds to his character, he's a coward. Elliot Page's character, which, by the way, if you're mad Elliot Page was cast in this movie, shut up, dude. Just shut up. He was in it for 5 minutes, and he had arguably one of the best scenes. So... But anyway, when they were getting ready to go to the Trojan War, the way that they decided who had to go to the war is they casted lots, these little sticks, and if you drew a certain lot, you had to go to the war. It was basically how they drafted. You see young Robert Pattinson's character pull the lot, meaning that he had to go, and then Elliot Page's younger character is next to him, and he kind of leans over and he switches lots with Elliot Page's young character. So then he didn't have to go, but Elliot Page's character did. And then later in the movie, he twists it. He was like, I wanted to go to war. I wanted to go. Odysseus wanted me to stay here so I could take care of everything. You're a coward and a liar. Yeah, Elliot Page did great. Like I said, he was only in it for a little bit, but the scene where they're in the underworld, and Odysseus sees Elliot Page's character, I think his name was Senna or something like that. But in that scene, Senna says to Odysseus, because Odysseus basically left Senna for dead and hidden the horse, made Senna believe that they actually left, and then Senna died right outside the horse, like right next to where Odysseus was. And Senna looks at him and kind of goes, you left me for dead. You lied to me and sacrificed me and left me for dead. And Matt Damon was like, we had to make you believe so then they believed that we were actually gone so it could work. But I was right. I was with you the entire time. I heard your last breaths and everything. And respect for this, because this is how I would react. Elliot Page's character goes, what does that matter? That you were near me when I died. I died for you. You lied to me, and I died for you. Such a good scene. Oh, my God. And then also, of course, John Leguizamo. I think is how you pronounce his name. I've always had trouble pronouncing his name. My favorite movie of his is him as Tybalt in Romeo and Juliet. I don't know. He's just so fun with, like, his I don't know. That's always been my favorite performance of his. Yeah, he was just one of Odysseus' servants. He was just a character that stood out. You know, he could have easily just taken the paycheck and like been, you know, a whatever character. He was honestly one of the standouts of the movie. Also, Mia Goth was in it. Like halfway through the movie, she shows up as one of Penelope's servants. Tom Holland was talking to someone in the dining hall, and Mia Goth comes up and talks to Tom Holland and says, like, your mom wants to speak to you or something. And I was like, is that Mia Goth? What's Mia Goth doing here? I recognize those no eyebrows anywhere. No hate to Mia Goth. She was great. It was just weird seeing her. She probably had 2 seconds of screen time. It was just weird seeing her. I'm sure there's someone I'm missing. Regardless, everyone did phenomenal. Obviously, the standout scenes, the whole invasion of Troy and everything with the Trojan horse, that whole thing was amazing. It really like took my breath away watching this movie and just being like, how the hell did they shoot this? They're invading a city with 1,000 guys. None of it's CGI. They're like in a cave, and there's an actual Cyclops there. They built a 60-foot puppet for the actors to like interact with, and then they filmed a dude just in Cyclops makeup. I'm pretty sure they made a scale replica of the cave and shrunk it down, and they just had a dude in makeup like crawling around the cave, and then they spliced it together. Hollywood, do more of that. I don't want to see a CGI giant. I want you to make it real. That's the point of this is movie magic. And no, honestly, this movie is the definition of movie magic to me. They worked hard. They went to actual locations. They shot as much practically as they possibly humanly could. And it shows. The Lystrogonians was a cool scene. It was kind of pointless in terms of the story, I think, because they kind of just run up, they get scared, they run away, and then they lose 2 of their ships. I don't know. But they filmed it for real. They got 7-foot dudes, put them in armor, and then they swapped out the actors for stunt actors that were 5 feet and under. So you have that size difference, and it looks insane. To have that in the same frame and not have it be CGI was awesome. And it's just such a simple little trick that you can do. The Cersei scene was insane. When they're like at her house and she says, okay, I'll feed you, go put your weapons and armor and shields in the back, and they go outside and they drop their armor and stuff, and then they look to the side and they see just a little mountain of armor and stuff that's covered in weeds. I was watching with my girlfriend, and when that scene came on, we both went, ooh. Uh-oh, something's about to happen. The way they did the pig transforming scene was insane to me. I didn't expect that at all. They're eating, and they're shoving, this is really good. And then all of a sudden, they start looking kind of uncomfortable or whatever, and then they stop putting food in their mouths, and the food is still shoving up into their mouths. I'm so curious how he filmed that. I'm curious if he just had them drop food out of their mouth, and then he reversed the footage. I have no idea. But it looks like it's shoving itself into their mouths, and they're like fighting it. And then she just starts mushing their faces. She's moving their cheeks around and fully extending their jaws and stuff, and turns them into pigs. How do you film that? Oh my God. I don't even like horror movies. After seeing the Cyclops scene and the Cersei scene, Chris Nolan needs to direct a horror movie. The Cersei scene was just mind-blowing to watch. Of like, how are they doing this without CGI? Of course, all the boat stuff was real. I think the only boat scene that they filmed in a tank was the storm where the ship gets pulled apart and they get separated. The rest of it, they're out on sea sailing a wooden boat. The end of the movie where Odysseus is returning home, I think was done very, 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 very well. Oh my God, when Matt Damon sees his dog and then he, the dog is looking at him and starts weakly wagging his tail, and you can tell he's getting excited, but he's too old to do anything about it. And then Matt Damon puts his hand on his dog, and then the dog's tail stops wagging. Kidding? And then right after that, Telemachus notices it and connects the dots that, oh, you're Odysseus. And then he like tells his son, no, I'm not Odysseus. Right now I'm a beggar, but if Odysseus was here, he'd be very proud of you and proud that you're his son. Or whatever he said. So good. Take a shot every time I say something so good in this. The whole scene where they're doing the trial of the bow. Dude, when he strings the bow and boom, and plucks it and everyone stops and Robert Pattinson's character like starts running away. Oh my God! The aura of having your hood up and you're sitting down and then you just dude. When that happened, I literally went, oh my God, that's so cool. And then he just murks people. He just murks them. I will say, Tom Holland's character, weird to have the choice of him being bad at fighting. Because he clearly trains. They show him training and they imply that he trains a lot. But he's bad at fighting. I don't know. That was a weird choice. Oh my God. How did I forget about Zendaya? When Zendaya was cast as Athena, I was like, that sucks. I don't like that at all. Athena's supposed to be the mentor of Odysseus. In my head, she needs to be older. Like in her 30s or 40s, she needs to be wise. You know, you have this image of Athena in your head. Zendaya is not Athena to me. And then I'm watching the movie. I'm like, I mean, I guess. Whatever. Yeah, it's fine. And then she kind of stops talking after a while and just kind of sits there and looks at him sometimes. And I'm like, that's weird. And then you see when they invade Troy and you see two of his men grab this girl and put her on her knees and is about to cut her head off. Meanwhile, one of his men is up by the Athena statue about to cut her head off. And he sees the girl and it's Zendaya. And then they both get their head cut off. I went, oh my God, that's so good. It wasn't Athena, but really it was that girl. It's his PTSD and his trauma and everything. That's so good. I want to touch on some of the controversies. Literally the night before we went to go see the movie, I saw a TikTok, and it was just naming stuff that was taken out of the movie. And it said, like, there's no Poseidon, there's no Zeus, there's no Hermes. I'm not kidding. I was like, oh no, oh, this movie's gonna be so bad, this movie's gonna suck, no. And I'm watching it, and when the movie starts, it says, in a world of apparent magic. I was like, that's weird. And then you're watching it, and you realize that there's no gods in it, because, you know, Chris Nolan, he does, like, grounded in reality stuff. So when Odysseus is fighting Poseidon, it's really him, like, fighting against the waves and stuff and rowing a boat real hard. That's him fighting Poseidon. When Zeus strikes him down, they're in a storm and lightning and breaks their boat in half. And then it's weird because, like, I saw Athena and I'm just, you know, why is Athena the only god in this? And then you realize that she's not a god. She's his messed up brain playing tricks on him. I think a large point of this movie that some people miss is it's about the myths that come from this kind of stuff. All his life, Telemachus is told the myth of Odysseus and these amazing things that he did. And then he meets a guy who fought with Odysseus, and he tells him the real story of Odysseus. He wasn't a god, he was a man. He was a very smart, tactical man, but he was a man. I think that's a very interesting take to have on the Odyssey when you're adapting it.
I'm editing right now, and I wanted to add, I think that another reason why we don't see humans playing the gods, and instead we just see them as the freakish acts of nature, like the sea causing storms and stuff like that. I think it's kind of explained in one of the lines of the movie. Telemachus keeps going around and saying to people that he admires, he says, you have wise eyes, you have Athena's eyes. And Odysseus tells him, don't look for the gods in humans. It'll just lead to disappointment. So I think that that's kind of why we don't see the gods in like a bodily form. Because at the end of the day, they're all just humans. They make mistakes. They die. I hope this is making sense. I don't know. It makes sense in my head why Chris Nolan wouldn't portray the gods in like a humanly bodily form. I don't know. It makes sense to me. Whatever.
Also, it just kind of annoys me when people are like, that armor is historically inaccurate. It's a story. It's a fairy tale. I understand that it's based in ancient Greek, but it's a fairy tale. Let him have cool armor. Would you rather Matt Damon wear this? Are you kidding me? Also, while I'm ranting, obviously I'm a fan of Epic the Musical. I've done my own fan edit. I've made a Poseidon Trident. I like Epic the Musical. I would dare say love. Y'all gotta stop trying to say that Christopher Nolan was in any way influenced by Epic the Musical. Buddy doesn't have an email. He has a flip phone, and this was a niche little thing on TikTok that, yes, had fans and has a fan base and did well enough to where it's getting like a Netflix adaptation. But Christopher Nolan's not going to know about that. I've seen so many videos of, in the scene where Odyssey strings the bow and plucks it, in the background the music is dun dun dun. Boom. I've seen so many videos of people going, oh my god, that's like in Epic when I'm just a man. No, it's not. It's 4 notes. It's 4 notes. I don't even think it's the same 4 notes. I know nothing about music, but I've seen videos of people who know about music and music theory and stuff like that, and they are straight up saying it's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. It's not the same chords. It's not the same chord progression. Whatever. I don't know. Y'all just gotta stop because it looks goofy. It looks goofy. I saw one video of a girl. It was something I think from the trailer, and the music was straight up going. Bang, bang, bang. And she was going. And the caption's like, "You better run Jorge his money." Pretend I'm Mr. Fantastic. Because you're reaching, dog. Oh, that was a bad joke. That was a real bad joke. That joke sucked. That was a bad joke, Clay. All this to say, it was a very good movie. It irritates me people who judge a movie for what it's not and for what it didn't do versus for what it is and what it did do. Yes, this movie had a lot of stuff cut out of it. It was a 3-hour movie. If it had any more stuff in it, it would be 10 hours long. I think that what he takes out, he makes up for what he adds in. I love the Odyssey. I would still like to see a real faithful adaptation of the Odyssey. I think it needs to be a TV show, have like hour-long episodes. I'm sure that'll happen at some point. But don't demonize this movie. Because it's not the movie that you wanted in your head, you're totally discounting the amount of effort and hard work that went into this movie in a time where movies suck right now. We get the occasional good movie, and then we just get repetitive CGI slop. I think we need to celebrate this movie so that studios are willing to do more stuff in real locations and do real practical effects. Because if you guys dog this movie and it does bad critically, then studios are going to look at that and be like, well, why would I spend $300 million doing this when we can just go film in the parking lot with a green screen? Anyway, I think that's the end of my rant. Overall, movie was phenomenal. I give it just, oh my god, out of 10. Because that's how I feel inside every time I think about it. Just, oh my. If you want more movie reviews from me, I did a Supergirl one, and I did a Project Hail Mary one. And if you want more, let me know. Even if you don't let me know, I'm still going to keep making them because I like making them. I like movies, and I like to talk about movies. But yeah, I think that's all I got for you. Go watch the Odyssey. Go support it so we can get more stuff like this. I think that's all I got for you. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.
Baby, you give me ice and fire. You're giving me wind and rain. You're some kind of bird.